Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. It's currently Wednesday, April the 8th, just a few minutes before 7 o'clock, and you may be wondering if testing is really... Well, I want to cover that today and see how that really affects your ability to get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. And again, you may be wondering, is testing really key at all? Well, with the U.S. cases right now of COVID over 425,000, with over 14,500 deaths already in just 3 months, with New York State having 151,000 cases right now, and over 63,000 deaths, 4,500 of those in New York City by itself, and might be just peaking in New York State right now. This could be peaking for them this week. Okay, with New Jersey State having over 47,000 cases, the second highest in the country, and 1,500 deaths so far, and they're just 1 week behind New York. Okay, you may be wondering if testing is really key at all. Well, as doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, EMTs, and hospital staff, cops, firefighters are getting sick and dying of COVID, okay, with the majority of the remaining population, okay, our lives are now dependent on the middle-class workers that have been constantly taken for granted over the last 40 years with the ever-growing income inequality, perpetuated by off-the-wall government policies, giving more money to the top 1% at the top. And you may be wondering if testing is really key. As the president is concerned continually about his ratings, about his daily briefings, okay, and he browbeats reporters about really basic questions, and he continues to refuse to invoke the Defense Production Act, okay, forcing state governors to try on their own desperately to try and figure out ways to handle a national crisis at a state level, when the states, cities, and hospitals have confirmed contracts with suppliers and their orders are pulled right before they're shipped by the federal government. Okay, and then they continued, he continues to refuse to name a single non-political military person with a serious logistical background take full charge of the supply chain and get coordinated federal response for this national problem. You may be wondering if all, is testing really key? When markets are still down over 20% from their high just 2 months ago, the economy lost 171,000 jobs last month, 6.6 million people are unemployed in just 1 week. And the president basically fires 2 attorney generals, okay, that would have had oversight over $500 billion bailout fund for businesses, replacing them with hand-picked political cronies. And when the acting Secretary of the Navy calls the captain of the U.S. nuclear aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt stupid, 2 days just after removing him from his command for trying to look out after the safety of his crew, and then resigns himself just yesterday. When the Supreme Court told the state of Wisconsin not to postpone their election and not to allow extended mail-in ballots, forcing the citizens of that state to leave their houses yesterday, cram into a very limited number of voting sites, risking their own lives to exercise their democracy just to be able to vote. You may be wondering if testing is really key. You may be wondering why I spend so much time on the political side of this. And there's a real good reason for that. The politics, okay, not the science, is driving the actions and the inactions that lead up to this situation in late December and early January. It's the politics and not the science that's driving the action and inactions that have taken place from February to March, where this thing just blew up off the wall. It's the politics and not the science that's driving the actions and inactions that are taking place this entire month. And it's very clear that every time the president does a briefing or sends a tweet, that he's in complete contrast to what the facts on the ground are. At any New York City State hospital, ER, or ICU. He's in constant contrast with the actual facts from the doctors and nurses and respiratory therapists on the front lines, risking their lives every day to try and save your lives and the lives of your friends and families. I'm not against Trump. I'm really not. I'm not an adversary of Trump. It's the actual facts that are an adversary of Trump. Those facts were on display with every interview with every frontline person. And you may be wondering if testing is really key. Yes, it is. When you test his statements against the facts, and then you decide what you want to believe. Do it objectively, though. Check your sources, and then you decide who and what you want to believe. But test his facts. Okay? And you may be wondering if testing is really key. Well, Mario Cuomo, the governor of New York State, is doing a seriously magnificent job managing this pandemic with what he's got to work with. Yesterday, the state did 10,000 tests. Great number of tests. And every day you hear the president run off about all the tests that are sent out, all the materials that are sent out. That's great. Let's look at New York State. They did 10,000 tests yesterday. If they did 10,000 tests for the last 30 days, and they couldn't have because they didn't have that many tests, but if they did, they would have done 300,000 tests. And that sounds like a really, really good number. Until you realize that the population of New York State is 19.8 million. That means they would have tested just 1.5% of their population. The governor of Texas just came on today, earlier today, and they tested 100,000 Texans to date. They tested 100,000 Texans to date. And that sounds really, really good until you realize that the state of Texas has a population of 28 million. That means that the state of Texas has tested so far to date less than 0.4% of its population. This is why I spend so much time on the political side of this. As the administrative errors compound every day, it has a direct effect on you. If you live in Wisconsin, yesterday you were forced to take your life in your hands and physically go out, stand in line for up to 2 hours to vote in the middle of a pandemic because the state didn't mail out ballots that people had requested 3 weeks ago. And the Supreme Court said, it's okay. The president, along with many of his supporters, consistently rail against the fraud that's perpetuated with mail-in ballots. He did it yesterday. He really went off the wall today. Even though the president mailed his own ballot. And the fact that there's been no really credible study that indicates voter fraud that ever really affected the result. Now, the state of Oregon has been mailing out ballots since the year 2000. So far, they've mailed about 100 million ballots. From 2000 to now, they've mailed about 100 million ballots. Of those 100 million ballots, they've only had 12 cases. Only 12 cases of fraud. A lot of complaining about a problem that doesn't exist. It's just another disconnect between what he says and what the actual facts are on the front line. And you may be wondering if testing is really key. It is because, first we need to get past this part where we are right now. There's a 40% chance that you're going to get COVID if you don't already have it. Then the second part is, if you get it, okay, there's a 98% chance you're going to recover. And then how do we go back to work? Testing is key. If the political side, because of its incompetency and or self-dealing, continues to refuse to put a non-political person in charge of the supply chain and the materials and the testing, it continues to put us all at risk for our own lives and our families. If the political side of this, because of incompetence and or self-dealing, continues to refuse to put a non-political person in charge of the oversight of the trillions of dollars of the stimulus money that was approved in the package a couple weeks ago, that money doesn't get to where it needs to go to help workers and small companies that actually need it. And you may be wondering if testing is really key. Yes, it is. We need testing to see who has active COVID so we can separate those people and they don't spread the virus, and then we can actually treat them. Okay? The federal government needs to do that. The states can't do that. The federal government needs to do that. They need to get the testing materials out. Okay? We need to do the testing to see who has actually recovered from the virus, to see if they can actually go back to work and get the economy moving for themselves and for the nation. The federal government needs to do that. We also need to see if testing can do for ourselves. Okay. Do we test a part of our belief system? Or do we just get carried away with the crowd and out of frustration with the systems that we believe on a daily basis? We really need to test our own beliefs. And that one's on us. Okay? We need to honestly review what we say and what we do. Is what we say and what we do actually helping someone along the line? Or are we busy name calling and trying to put somebody else down because it makes us feel better? There's a disconnect between what you say, what you stand for, and the daily actions and words that you take and words that you use. Okay, you need to be the judge of that one, though. But for now, okay, let's put some daily routines back in our life. You need a schedule to keep your sanity. Okay, you need to plan your finances for at least the next 3 months because this is still going to go on. You really need to rethink your plan A. You need to supplement it with a plan B that puts you back in charge of your money and your life. If you go out, you need a mask. It's very simple. The virus doesn't move by itself. People move the virus. If people don't move, the virus stops moving. Stay at home. Don't have family gatherings. I know for people that have big families, Italians and Jews specifically, okay, they love family gatherings. You can't have family gatherings right now. I know it's time for Seder's coming up, but you can't have it at this point in time. You can't risk the families being together that much. Okay? Only go out for essential items, groceries and medications. If you go out, wear a mask. Don't change your behavior because you might want to avoid infection. Assume you're infected and change your behavior to avoid transmission. It's working. Slowly it's working. The number of deaths is still peaking in New York right now. But the number of admissions and intubations is slowly dropping. What we're doing by social distancing and wearing masks is having an effect. Be responsible for your own behavior. Okay? Be nice. Check on the families and neighbors. Check on the elderly. Video calls really help people. They really do. Okay? You'll get through this. Okay? Take some time to reflect on you and your actions. What are your long-term goals? Are your actions and your words congruent with getting you there? If they're not, now's the time you may want to take a peek at those things. Okay, I know each and every one of you is doing your part right now because the numbers are actually starting to come down just a little bit on the front end of this thing. The deaths are going to go up for a little while because those people are already in the system, but the new cases are slowing down. The intubations, which is really important, is slowing down. So what we're doing is having an effect. It's not an immediate effect. You don't notice it overnight, but it is having an effect. For now, you just have to wait and see what happens. Okay? Depending on where you are, you're going to have some bad days ahead of you. Okay? New York is getting hit this week. New Jersey is going to be hit next week. Other places could be 2-3 weeks down the line before they get hit badly. They will. It's just a matter of time. But after they hit, things are happening. Good things are happening. Okay? New York has been on the spearhead. They're going to have ideals as to treatment and patient management. They'll be able to share that with every other succeeding state. Okay? And that's how people help each other out. Okay? Maintain your sanity. Focus on the things that are important to you. Some things that you have control over. Some things you don't. Okay? The things you have control over, take control over those things. Okay, plan your plan B job right now. What type of business are you going to have? When you come out of this on the other side, what are you going to look like? How are you going to be in a position so that it doesn't happen to you again? If you get kids at home, they're probably driving you a little bit crazy right now. You need something to do with them. If you get really small kids, my wife, Dr. Terry, does her bedtime reading at 7:30 or so. That's great. If you've got other kids a little bit older, okay, I'll post this video on YouTube, and I'll have a link there to a page. On that page, I'll have a daily present for you, something different every day, but there'll also be links in there for some education things and some entertainment things that you can do with the kids or for yourselves. Now, again, I post them every day. Take a peek at the video, like and share the video. I appreciate the comments. Even some of the nasty ones, I don't mind too much. Okay, I really don't mind them too much. Again, I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. I'm here to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. I appreciate you being here with me. I'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Thank you.